In 336 BCE, King Philip II of Macedon was assassinated, leaving a highly volatile kingdom to his 20-year-old son, Alexander. Across the Mediterranean, the consensus was that Macedon would immediately crumble. The Greek city of Thebes acted first, launching an instant rebellion to test the young king's resolve. But Alexander was more than a royal heir. He was a student of Aristotle. Aristotle was the father of formal logic and systematic reasoning, and he had spent years training Alexander to apply those principles to the physical world. The coming campaign would determine the efficacy of those lessons when applied to the visceral chaos of ancient warfare. Alexander's response to the Theban revolt avoided the slow process of negotiation. He viewed the rebellion as a logistical obstacle to be neutralized. He marched his army 240 miles in just 14 days, appearing at the city gates before the rebels believed he had even left his capital. Alexander razed Thebes to the ground, killing 6,000 residents and selling the survivors into slavery. This act of calculated terror was designed for maximum strategic efficiency. By making an example of a single city, he paralyzed the remaining Greek states with fear, securing his rear flank so he could focus his full strength on the east. His ultimate objective was the Persian Empire, a superpower led by King Darius III. In every major engagement, Alexander faced a staggering numerical disadvantage against the Persian levies. At the battles of Issus and Gaugamela, the Macedonian king looked past the size of the enemy army to find its structural vulnerabilities. Rather than clashing head-on, he used the terrain to funnel the Persian lines and deployed high-mobility cavalry to strike with surgical precision. The sheer speed and concentration of these strikes forced Darius III to abandon his troops and flee the field multiple times. These victories demonstrated how mobility and tactical leverage could consistently dismantle a larger, static force. Following his battlefield successes, Alexander began dismantling the empire's centers of gravity, including the vital naval port of Tyre. He then captured Babylon, securing the economic and cultural heart of the ancient world. The campaign culminated at Persepolis, where the Macedonian army seized the core of Persian imperial wealth. Alexander continued his push eastward, crossing the Hindu Kush Mountains and entering the Indian subcontinent. However, these ambitions eventually reached the limits of human endurance. After years of constant campaigning, his exhausted troops mutinied, forcing the expedition to turn back. In 323 BCE, Alexander died suddenly in Babylon at the age of 32. Without his singular direction, his generals immediately turned on each other, triggering a civil war over the inheritance. The unified territory fractured into three separate kingdoms: the Ptolemies in Egypt, the Seleucids in the east, and the Antigonids in Greece. This political collapse proved how quickly a unified state could dissolve when built solely on military personality. Yet a different kind of conquest remained intact. As the Macedonian armies moved, they established cities that functioned as hubs for Greek philosophy and Aristotelian logic. Long after the borders of the empire vanished, these intellectual seeds remained, forming the cultural and scientific foundations that would eventually define the Western world.